The alley smelled of iron and rain. A gunshot cracked the night. Sharp, contained, almost polite. The sound ricocheted between concrete walls and died quickly, swallowed by the city. A body hit the ground with a dull, wet thud. Somewhere nearby, a man whimpered once, then went quiet. She stood frozen behind a stack of plastic crates, breath locked in her chest, eyes burning from not blinking. Red liquid crept across the pavement toward her shoes, mixing with rainwater, thin as a lie. Footsteps approached, unhurried, measured. She bit her fist to keep from screaming. She had only taken the shortcut because the buses had stopped running. The night market was closing when she cut through the service alley behind the restaurants, clutching her backpack tight against her ribs. Neon signs flickered above dumpsters and delivery doors. Somewhere, a radio played an old trot song, warped by static. She was counting steps in her head. 20 more and she'd be back on a main road, when the argument erupted ahead of her. Voices, low, male, urgent. She stopped, listened. "Please," one voice said, not loud, desperate in the way people sound when they already know the answer. "I'll fix it. Give me a week." Silence followed, thick, heavy. Then another voice spoke, calm, polite, almost bored. "You've already had 3. She edged backward, heart hammering, but her heel knocked over an empty bottle. The clink was tiny. It felt deafening. Someone exhaled. She ducked behind the crates just as a man was shoved into the narrow pool of light cast by a single security lamp. His face was bruised, one eye swelling shut. He saw something, maybe her shadow, maybe nothing, and his mouth opened. The gunshot cut him off. She watched the bullet bloom into his chest like a dark flower. Watched his body fold. Watched the shooter lower the gun and wipe it clean with a handkerchief as if he'd spilled tea. Her stomach clenched. Acid burned her throat. She pressed herself against the crates, trembling, as 2 more men stepped into view. Suits, no rush, no shouting. One of them dragged the body away, its head bumping softly against the pavement. Rain began to fall harder, masking the sounds. She didn't move, couldn't. Her lungs screamed, and then, quiet. The men left. A car door closed somewhere nearby. An engine purred, then faded. Only then did she slide down, knees giving out, palms slick with sweat. She gagged silently, eyes fixed on the dark stain that refused to wash away. She stayed there for a long time, shaking, until the city resumed breathing. By morning, life demanded its due. She washed the blood from her shoes in the communal sink of her basement apartment, scrubbing until her knuckles split. The water ran pink, then clear. She stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror, dark circles under her eyes, lips pale, hair tied back too tight, and practiced looking normal. Classes started at 9. She swallowed instant coffee and a stale convenience store pastry, then hurried out into the gray drizzle, backpack heavy with textbooks and borrowed hope. The subway was packed. She stood pressed between strangers, their coats damp, their phones glowing. No one noticed her shaking hands. At the university, she took notes she couldn't remember writing: economics lecture, Korean language seminar. Her professor's voice drifted in and out as her mind replayed the alley, the sound, the smell, the way the shooter's hand never trembled. It wasn't your business, she told herself. You didn't see anything, but she had. Every detail burned behind her eyes. After class, she worked a 4-hour shift at a cafe near campus, smiling until her cheeks ached, bowing to customers who didn't look at her face. Her manager reminded her, again, that international students weren't supposed to exceed their work hours. She nodded, apologized, promised to be careful. In the afternoon, she cleaned offices downtown, wiping fingerprints off glass tables that cost more than her yearly tuition. At night, she tutored a middle school girl whose parents paid late and complained anyway. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from home. Her mother's polite worry, her younger brother's tuition deadline, the unspoken expectation that she would fix everything because she was the one who had gone abroad, the one who was supposed to make it. By midnight, she collapsed onto her thin mattress, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. The city hummed above her. Sirens wailed distantly. Sleep didn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the gun flash. On the 3rd day, she noticed the black sedan. It waited across the street from the cafe, windows tinted, engine off. She told herself it was nothing. Seoul was full of cars like that. On the 5th day, it was there again, parked near the office building she cleaned. On the 7th, she spotted it in her rearview reflection on the subway platform, doors opening, people flowing around it like water around a stone. Her chest tightened. She changed her routes, took longer walks, skipped meals to afford taxis. Still, the feeling followed her, of being observed, measured. The first encounter happened in a bookstore. She was flipping through a used paperback, calculating whether she could afford it, when a shadow fell across the page. She looked up. He stood too close, tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal coat that probably cost more than her rent. His hair was neatly cut, his face composed in a way that suggested careful maintenance, attractive, objectively, dangerous, instinctively. "I believe you dropped this," he said in flawless Korean, holding out her student ID. Her stomach dropped. She reached for it, fingers brushing his. His skin was cool. "Thank you," she said, forcing a smile. Her accent betrayed her immediately. "You're not from here," he observed gently. Not a question. "No." He nodded, eyes flicking to the book in her hand. "You study economics." "Yes, hard subject." She laughed weakly. "It is." A pause. He watched her the way one might watch a clock, patient, precise. "You should be careful walking alone at night," he said. "This city can be unforgiving." Her smile froze. "I will." He inclined his head, polite to the last degree, and walked away. She stood there long after he left, heart racing, the bookstore's soft music suddenly oppressive. She told herself she was paranoid. She was wrong. The point of no return came on a night when winter finally decided to arrive. Rain turned to sleet, stinging her face as she ran. She had just finished tutoring and noticed the black sedan idling at the end of the street. Fear surged, sharp and undeniable. She ducked into a side road, then another, boots slipping on wet pavement. Footsteps echoed behind her. Not rushed, never rushed. She sprinted, lungs burning, backpack slamming against her spine. Neon signs blurred past. Karaoke bars, closed shops. A convenience store she didn't dare enter. She cut through an alley, then another, breath tearing from her throat. A hand grabbed her arm. She screamed, twisted. The grip tightened, iron strong, yanking her back. She stumbled, fell against a wall. A man stepped into her vision, not the one from the bookstore, but one of his shadows, expressionless, efficient. A door slid open behind her. She was shoved inside the sedan. The door closed with a final padded click. The interior smelled of leather and something faintly medicinal. She kicked, screamed, pounded on the glass. No one looked. The car moved. Her captor said nothing. Neither did the driver. The city lights streaked past as if she were sinking underwater. She tasted blood where she'd bitten her tongue. They drove for a long time. When the car stopped, she was guided, never roughly, never gently, into an underground parking garage, an elevator, a private floor. The room was warm, quiet, expansive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city like a god's private balcony. Soft lighting, art on the walls she didn't recognize but felt expensive. He stood by the window, hands clasped behind his back. "You're cold," he said without turning. "Please sit." She didn't. He turned then, studying her with open interest. "You witnessed something you shouldn't have," he continued calmly. "In an alley behind a restaurant, 3 nights ago, at 11:42 p.m. Her knees threatened to buckle. "I didn't," her voice cracked. She swallowed. "I didn't tell anyone." "I know." He smiled faintly. "You're careful. You delete messages. You avoid cameras. You even paid cash for a taxi yesterday despite needing that money for food." Tears burned her eyes. "What do you want?" He walked toward her unhurried, stopping just close enough that she could smell his cologne. Clean, understated. "I want you alive," he said, "or dead. The choice is yours." Silence stretched between them. He gestured to a chair. This time she sat. "I know about your family," he went on, settling across from her. "Your mother's medical bills, your brother's tuition, your visa status, your debt. I know where you work, Where you sleep, what you eat, when you eat. Her hands clenched in her lap. You can disappear tonight, he said pleasantly. An accident, a misunderstanding, very unfortunate. Her breath hitched. Or, he continued, you can be useful. Her head snapped up. How? A pair of eyes, he said, a mind, someone no one suspects. You will work for me. You will listen. You will report. You will do as you're told. And if I refuse? He shrugged. Then we mourn. Her vision blurred. She thought of her mother's tired smile, her brother's hopeful messages, the life she had clawed toward inch by inch. What happens to my family? She whispered. They remain untouched, he said, as long as you cooperate. And if I try to run? His gaze hardened just a fraction. Then I stop being polite. She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. I'll do it, she said. He smiled, satisfied, and stood. Welcome, he said softly, to your new life. As she followed him out, the city glittered below, vast and indifferent. She realized with a cold certainty that she would never be just a student again, and that survival would cost her everything.